This one really isn't a surprise, but the Bears are now officially shopping the number 1 draft pick, which, yeah, water's wet as well, right? No shocker for that. But what should they actually do with this pick? What should the Chicago Bears actually do with the number 1 overall pick? And apparently, I think it's been 12 times that the pick has been dealt before draft day. We recently saw the Falcons jump up in the early 2000s to take Michael Vick. We obviously saw the Rams move up from 15-1 that one year to take Jared Goff number 1 overall. So we've seen some action. We saw the Dolphins obviously manipulate draft a few years back, I think with or I think the Texans did it to the Dolphins, and that's what channeled into Laramie Tunsil. We've seen the Niners in recent years jump up for Trey Lance. So we've seen a lot of, draft day activity, and the Bears now find themselves in another position. They are apparently, quote, leaning towards trading the number 1 overall pick, and they have received multiple calls on it. So, of course, they're going to listen. And again, y'all know how I feel about Justin Fields. I think he's the guy. I love the athleticism. He's now only the 3rd quarterback outside of Lamar Jackson and Michael Vick to have over 1,000 yards rushing in an NFL season for a quarterback. So that's clearly remarkable there. But, and again, I think Justin Fields is the guy. He hasn't had a consistent offensive weapon. He hasn't had consistent coaches. He's had 2 coaches years. Clearly, this coach just got him the number 1 overall pick. And I'm not saying that Eberflus was supposed to do amazing things with this team, but, damn, 3 wins. I mean, it is unfortunate, but it is what it is at the end of the day. I do think that them leaning towards the number 1 overall pick, though, is good. They need to keep Justin Fields. Again, the head coaches, the offensive weapons, get him some consistency. Go check my short and my video that I just posted about Justin Fields actually needing more time, because you look at the fact that Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts there for a second had not had a lot of time, but, we're kind of getting doubted. We had questions about them. Josh Allen gets Stephon Diggs, looks good. Jalen Hurts gets him with Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, clearly looks good. Sorry, y'all. I just didn't want to have some potential nose runnings here on the live show. Allergies are crazy. Comment, tell me where y'all are watching from. I'm obviously down here in Atlanta, Georgia, and one day it's 45 and freezing for 2 weeks. And after it's been cold as hell for 2 weeks, it's 80 degrees and clammy. And the sweater you wore that morning, you're now sweating your ass off. If you know about Georgia weather, get in the comments. Let me know. If you know, as they say. If you don't know, you probably don't want to know. I don't like Georgia weather. But it's cool here. Born and raised my whole life. But anyways, back to the show. So yeah, I do think this is good. And when you look at, they need everything, right? They need to get offense for Justin Fields. They need to get, trenches. They need to get a corner. They literally need everything, right? But not a quarterback. And so when you look at, they could drop to second, I want to take a look real quick at the NFL draft order here, just to make sure that I have everything right. So, when you take a look that they could trade down to the Texans, who are the 2nd in the draft, and they could jump up to take that Bryce Young, that Anthony Richardson, that Will Levis, that CJ Stroud. There's a lot of conversation about who's going to go first overall. Obviously, you have the Colts at 4. They could trade down with them. But I think moving down multiple times in this draft is going to be ideal, because when you go and take a look at the big board, Bryce Young, Jalen Carter, Will Anderson, Will Levis, CJ Stroud. But when you start to look, obviously they're not going to go quarterback. I don't know if – you could take Jalen Carter or Will Anderson number 1 overall. I wouldn't be the biggest fan of it. And that's why I think you should trade down, because, again, just taking an edge rusher, number 1 overall, I get it. It's been done before. We've seen the Aiden Hutchinsons, we've seen the TJ Watts, we've seen the JJ Watts, and I don't know exactly how high those guys were drafted, but for instance, Aiden Hutchinson, number 2 overall last year. It was a good pick. Aiden Hutchinson was great, 9.5 sacks, awesome rookie year. But it's just a position that the Bears are in. Would it really be worth it to go with Jalen Carter or Will Anderson, number 1 overall? And I used to think that it was, but then just things have changed out, and played out and changed up kind of a good bit, for the Bears. So it's just just trying to collect everything here for the Bears. But yeah, moving down multiple times, it would just be very smart. It'd be very, very smart for the Bears to move down multiple times. I wouldn't necessarily want them to spend the number 1 overall pick on a player. Drop down. Don't do Jalen Carter. Don't do Will Anderson. And maybe if you even move down and manipulate it enough that you could get maybe both Will Anderson and Jalen Carter. I know it's crazy. It probably won't happen like that. I actually saw a Bears fan comment that on a video as I was doing some research. But, you know, I mean, again, you look at the fact that there's plenty of holes with the Chicago team, but the offense has to be a priority. And to know that this is where I was getting at when I kind of just lost my train of thought, to know that the Bears have went, you know, heavy defense, like it's unfortunate. That's what they do in the draft. They draft defense, right? And I get that that's part of their culture. That's kind of who they've been for a while or always been. But like Justin Fields is in the house. He's talked about how he would like a Jackson Smith and Jigba. I know you're not going to get him or you're not going to pick him that high considering where you're at, but like listen to him. Get him some players, buy in on some guys for him. Go make a move for him. I mean, probably not sexy, but DeAndre Hopkins to the Bears, I'm here for it. If you're talking about giving that to Justin Fields, okay, we saw what it did for Kyler. Again, we saw what happened with Jalen Hurts when he got a receiver. We saw what happened with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs as they gained each other. And I do think DeAndre's, you know, already at a higher level, but just in terms of getting Justin Fields up there. But like, it is unfortunate, you know, and again, I said it in the last video about this is you steal the draft. Like I said it, I was hype as hell. I thought the Falcons should have either drafted Justin Fields at number 4, or they should have traded down. I actually said that year that they should have traded down because they still had Matt Ryan at the time. I still believed in Matt Ryan for the situation he was in. So knowing now that the Bears could trade down and be able to benefit off of all this. God, I feel like I'm losing my train of thought as we get through this topic. But yeah, you know, it's just like seeing how the Falcons had everything in their grasps in that one NFL draft at number 4, and they could have used a lot of rule to trade down and they didn't. I think the Bears can be in the same position here. You got to go get offense. You have to go get Justin Fields some offense. I get it. You might want to start from the interior with the line, wherever you think your foundational pieces are, but I want to see Justin Fields get some help. Bears need to go O-line and project Justin. 100% agree with you there, Darby, but trade down for sure. Yep. No question about it, man. And again, you know, I think this news broke at the right time. It's leaking at the right time, right as the NFL Combine's coming up and it's starting to unfold, which is where a lot of scouts and a lot of teams congregate together, you know, to be able to talk about things, which I don't like. The Combine is great. That's obviously your raw skills, 40-yard dash time, you know, elusiveness, quickness, all that. The Combine is good. I don't go crazy over it, and I'm definitely not even going to talk about a pro day where guys are throwing in shorts with no defenders or wind. Like, come on now. You know, the Combine's worth more than the pro day, but essentially it's both of them like, I'd like to see you in the Senior Bowl or, you know, how you really played in your big-time games in your college career. But again, trading down is a must, manipulating this draft, you know, getting some steals and some package deals as you move down. I really feel like puts them in the driver's seat because you've got Washington looking for a quarterback. Sam Howell's not their guy. Ryan Tannehill might be not a Titan next year. So you've got the Titans that could be looking for it. The Bucs are clearly, like, they say they're rolling with Kyle Trask, but are they really? The Panthers obviously are looking for a quarterback. Frank Reich has been really wanting to mold his guy. I don't think he wants to get a Band-Aid veteran quarterback. You got the Falcons as well, who actually just cut Marcus Mariota today. So maybe they could be moving forward with Desmond Ridder. But nonetheless, the Falcons could be a person that's calling. You've got the Colts as well, the Texans, the Raiders. These are all people that are going to be fiending possibly over these top 4 picks because let's be real. If 4 quarterbacks were taken in the top 4 picks of the draft, depending on how trades play out, that's not going to be a surprise. You know, like there are 4, as of my judgment right now, there are 4 first-round NFL quarterbacks in this draft. So you're going to have people fighting over this. Like this quarterback draft is one of the best, and not one of the best, but one of the better in recent memory. Like as you compare it to that 2021 draft, I believe it was, you know, with the Justin Fields, with the Trevor Lawrence, with the Trey Lance, with the Zach Wilson, like there was a lot of hype around that, you know, and the Bears having this number 1 overall pick, they're in a prime position. They could really make some things happen. And I feel like a timeline that we could see a deal be done for the Bears is, you know, right after we have that first big surge of free agency, we see, you know, kind of how the Chargers just took it all over last year. After those first few big surges, players are signed, money's dealt out, this, that, and the third, because the league years start to think on March 15th, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, it'll be great as things happen. But yeah, you know, I think, you know, it breaks at the right time. You've got plenty of positions to be able to move down into, especially considering how much you actually need. Again, I think it's breaking at the right time because of how the combine's about to happen. You could see a deal happen shortly after free agency, that first big surge of free agency leading up to the draft night. But I will say the Bears do need to be prepared in making a pick at the number 1 overall position, which if they did, I'm probably going to lead Jalen Carter or Will Anderson, which again, it's not sexy to me. Number 1 overall pick going defense. Maybe that's what they want to do. I don't know. I hope they're smart. I hope they trade back.